Okay, so in this video, we're going to show how to set up Claude Code to write the perfect e-commerce emails. And there's really three things here that we can do to separate a normal just, hey, write me this email and what we're going to be doing. And these three things make a huge difference. And I'm going to go through each one. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to actually use Claude to build us a brand guidelines so that we can write emails that really sound like your brand and are not just kind of like generic, hey, blah, 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 right? So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to go ahead and get Claude up and running. Now I'm going to use the brand Olipop because it's really well known, and so it's a pretty easy reference. So all of these things that are here are going to be included in the description. You can just go ahead and copy those in yourself. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our brand guidelines prompt. So we're going to use this for the brand Olipop. Great. So now what this is going to do is this gives it a set of instructions so that we get a significantly better output, and it starts to form the information and build the information that we then need to feed back into it later so that it can actually write good emails. So you can see that you're a brand voice strategist. We're going to give you a Shopify URL. And then we're going to gather the copy from these different pages, analyze it, and output the profile. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this run here. And then we start to get like a real description and a real idea of how the brand sounds so that, again, we can use that in our input when we are looking to generate our emails. Without doing this, you get really generic things that don't really sound like your brand and really don't work great. So while that runs, I'm going to go ahead and pause, and then I'll come back once it's all done. Okay, perfect. So I actually had to give it a couple of extra pages that I wanted to pull from. Obviously, with your brand, you can give it whatever pages you want if it's not quite finding them. And then we've got our output here, right? So it's still finishing up writing it. So it has all of this here. It's actually still writing. So this is exactly what we want. Okay, so what we're going to say is, okay, let's go ahead and save this to a file so we can reference it and use it for future writing as additional context. And again, this will form the basis for how we as a brand write. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to generate brand catalog. So Shopify actually has a public endpoint, so it can go in and scrape all of the product information that you have on your website. The product names, the URLs, the descriptions, the prices. And so this also helps inform the AI in terms of what your products actually are, how to talk about them, what makes them different. And this really takes things from, again, generic to much more targeted. Okay, so next up, let's run our fetch catalog script all of the actual products and descriptions. Okay, so this will just take, again, a second to run. It's, again, going to go in, pull all of those products from the website so that you don't have to do it manually, and then give all of that in as additional context. So we're going to go ahead and let this run. Great. So it already pulled all 45 products. No problem. Okay. So all it's telling us is it just pulled the merch as well, which is great. So it has all of our info. So now it has all the products. It has the brand information. It has everything that it could possibly need. So you can see here, handle, title, product type, vendor, tags, URL, full description, price, availability, image, and variants. So again, even if this is a relatively small catalog, but this works on catalogs of hundreds or even thousands and makes this much, much easier than trying to do it all yourself. Okay, so now the last thing is to put all of this into a little bit of a scale and also give it some direction where we take, again, more generic copy, give the AI a little bit of instruction and direction on how to write the copy, specifically around copywriting and e-commerce. And then that takes, again, this kind of generic output into something much more specific, much more targeted. Okay, so next up, what we want to do is turn our writing prompt txt into a local skill with the directions around how to guidelines as context. Okay, So basically all we're saying is, hey, now let's turn all of this and package it into a skill for writing emails. So we're going to say, hey, there's this pre-built prompt that we have that I have built already and will be included. And then we're going to turn that into a skill and one that instructs it to also look at the brand guidelines context. So it knows how to talk from that brand's perspective, and also to look at the catalog of products. So when we are writing an email, again, we're referencing all of the things that we need to be referencing, both from a brand perspective, from a product perspective, and from a general good copywriting perspective. Now, just to show you what this looks like, this is mainly just walking through, use these principles when writing any e-commerce email marketing email. Benefits over features. We want to use fundamentals, so lead with benefits, be specific and concrete. Don't use fillers, use an active voice. We want to make it so that each sentence flows together, which is called a slippery slide. And then we want to use scarcity and urgency when it's real, authority and liking. So we want to be, relatable and trusting. We want to earn every sentence. And then just some things around, make sure that we are deleting any fillers we don't really need. There's quite a bit in here. And then there's just a little bit of guidance around the email structure. Of course, this can be changed if this doesn't fit your brand or your layout. So feel free to tweak this, but this is kind of the general structure that we like to use. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and work on this. I will come back in just a second once it's done. Okay, perfect. So it went ahead and built everything out. Additionally, it actually built out a little script to help it sort through all of the product information and find the right one. So it even says how it works when triggered, pins the brief, loads the voice, pulls real product copy, writes and does a final check. It references the voice profile and catalog files rather than copying them. In this case, it's Olipop specific, but it does document how to create this. So again, all of this will be shared. Now, the one thing that I didn't mention, and the thing that kind of ties all of this together, is the step before getting here is actually creating all of the topics that we're going to be talking about. And this is something that we do regularly in my agency. We have this all set up. So it is able to go into an account inside of Klaviyo, look at all of the results of past campaigns, and then use that to start generating a bank of ideas that we can then apply to this month. Now, what we do is we then take that and then we can feed it into something like this to help it generate the first draft on copy. So really quickly, we're going to run through that. And right here is actually the code that does that. Right in here is our env. So in theory, you would put in your Klaviyo API key once you have this on your system. And then once you have that in there, that will give this script the ability to go in and pull that data out of Klaviyo and then run it through. So, okay. But since I forgot to mention that since I cannot do that live and show, client information, I have created just a little sample. And so I'm going to use that sample to kind of show how the calendar creation step works. Okay, so let's use our sample to work through creating a Olipop calendar for the month of July. Let's shoot for around 14 emails sent in that month. Okay, so what this is going to do is, again, it's going to go back and look at the historic performance of emails. It's going to look at last year's emails around the same time, and it's going to help me generate and think of ideas of what I can send. This will then generate a CSV file that we can look at inside of our Google Drive, make sure that it looks good, and that we're happy with it. And then we can feed these back one by one or in bulk to help start writing and actually generating the copy for each email that we want. So this is going to work for a second, and I will unpause it once we have something to talk about. Okay, so that took a little bit of time, but it has gone ahead and created a little bit of a promo calendar here. So what I'm actually going to do real quick is I'm going to open up and I'm going to take this CSV that it created for me. Let me just find it right here. And what I want to do is I just kind of want to give you an idea of what this looks like. Now, this won't be perfect because we're kind of using some generic information and we haven't given it too much data. But the point is I kind of want to show what it can do. Now, typically what you want to do is obviously go a little bit deeper with what you are giving it. So it has a little bit of an idea of what to really create. Okay, so now that we have our CSV, we're just going to go ahead and grab it from our folder here, open this right up. It'll drop it in here, and then we can see what it has for us. Perfect. So right here, we can already see that this is doing a pretty good job We have our full briefs right here, ready and written. It definitely pays to do a little bit of legwork and write a brief before just kind of dropping in something random. And again, we can also just kind of look at what it has generated here for us. So if we just want to see the types of things that it's giving us, 4th of July stock up, shipping cutoff urgency, how the fam did the 4th, UGC, summer refresher spotlight, never run out all summer, subscribe and save. So these are actually really pretty good. And I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Now, of course, if we didn't like everything or it was just kind of missing extra information, we can always drop that in and give it a little bit more direction. So let's go ahead and just pretend that we're going to be doing one of these, and we're going to do this one. So now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and write the email for this one. I'll just drop it in there. Now, of course, we could just have it references. It does have them all in there, but if we kind of wanted to do these one at a time, this will work a little bit better. So you can see that it's pulling in our skill that we created just a minute ago. And now it's going to go ahead and start writing. So I'm going to go ahead and pause while this writes. You don't need to watch me and it. Okay, perfect. So we got our first output. Here, subject, beat the 3 p.m. slump, deliciously, preview, bold citrus, a green tea caffeine kick, and just 2 to 5 grams of sugar. New here, 15% off your first order with welcome code 15. Header, your 3 p.m. slump just met its match. A bold citrus kick, real soda joy, 0 sugar regret. Shop the citrus lineup. So we can already see this is pretty dang good. That afternoon dip hits and suddenly the vending machine is calling your name. Reach for Olipop instead. Real, bubbly soda taste you actually want with 9 grams of fiber and just 2 to 5 grams of sugar, doing quiet work in the background. It's the kind of pick-me-up that won't leave you crashing by 4 p.m. This is great, right? Because we're not just talking about like, hey, this is really tasty, it's really good. We're really talking about a problem, we're giving a solution, and we're hitting something that a lot of people feel. A lot of people around that like 2 p.m., it's like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll grab a soda. Shop the citrus lineup. Subheader, meet your afternoon lineup, copy. Citrus Rush, apple, lemon, lime, and orange juices with 60 milligrams of green tea caffeine for a bold, refreshing blast that fuels whatever's left on your list. Clementine and mandarin juice with a splash of lemon, sunny, nostalgic, vitamin C rich citrus made refreshingly crisp. And then again, pushing back to the citrus flavors. This is actually really good. Again, and then we're signing off with the same thing, pulling them back to this 15% off. Because if we look at our brief, it says that this is actually for new customers, offer 15% off first order, welcome 15. So this is segmented and to a specific audience. We're then signing off on it here. This is great. I mean, this is really, really solid, right? So what we can say is go ahead and save this to a TXT file. And what that'll do is it'll just drop it into a file and then we can use it. So this is more or less how we are able to, from a data-driven perspective, create ideas around a calendar past just like, hey, this is going on and we need to talk about it. Now, obviously, you can feed those relevant things in, but this really helps to fill out a lot of what we're talking about. You can see how well this is able to accurately describe the products, reference the products, and really do a much, much, much better job. I've seen some pretty bad outputs from AI in terms of how it's writing an email. So we're giving it the brand guidelines, we're giving it the product context, and then we're giving it some actual real copywriting guidelines, and it is doing a really good job. And then marrying that, so to speak, with a brief created from the actual data and the actual information and the brand data that we have from Klaviyo directly turns it into something that is, dang near perfect. This just needs maybe a little bit of polish, and then it is more or less good to go in terms of writing. So anyway, that is how you can use Claude Code to write the perfect e-commerce emails. In the description, I will leave the link to all of the prompts, all of the code, and everything else that you might need. Thanks for watching. And if you need any help with this, feel free to reach out.